Hey YouTube, how you doing? This is Real Talk, and I'm coming to you with a new episode. And in this one, we're going to cover what happens when you get into Hollywood, or when you aspire to come up in Hollywood, especially when you're a child. So we're going to look at some child actors and the outcome of those actors and what's really going on. And then there's some other stuff at the end of the video that I'm going to tie into it as well. So let's get started. Okay, Heather O'Rourke. Heather O'Rourke was a little girl that came out in the Poltergeist movies. And right off the bat, I mean, if you're gonna be in a demonic movie, then chances are it's not gonna end well for you. I mean, just the content of what you in there doing should tell you that is terrible. But let's read what it says here. In 1988, O'Rourke died at the age of 12 from a complication during surgery to remove an acute bowel obstruction. In this little girl's in her particular situation, it turns out that she had a rare, the disease or the rare obstruction of her bowels, so she wound up dying when she was little. But the fact that, she was doing the evil Poltergeist movies about demonic possession, and Carol Ann got into the TV or whatever, that's already not a good sign anyway. And all that really says that the mother and the father weren't taking care of business for their children as far as protecting their property. And ultimately, she wound up dying. River Phoenix. He died in 1993 at just 23 after speedballing cocaine and morphine outside Los Angeles' famed Viper Room. Okay, now this one, this is a trip because I think I read it somewhere where right before he passed away, he was dating Winona Ryder. And Johnny Depp was fiending over Winona Ryder right around the same time. I think he even has a tat of Winona's name on his arm or something, Winona Forever or whatever. And I honestly believe, now this is just my belief, this doesn't mean it's real, it doesn't mean it's true, but it's just in my concept that Johnny Depp slipped him that speedball because Johnny Depp was the owner of the Viper Room at the time, and he acted like oh, it ain't me, and he's on stage playing with his band or whatever the heck, but he was jealous of their relationship, and that's most likely what prompted. I mean, they were going to snuff River Phoenix anyway. They were going to snuff River Phoenix anyway because he was outspoken. He got into the game. He saw all that cochinadas that was in the game and all that stuff. So he wasn't feeling that game anyway. So they already had plans to snuff him out anyway, but they just used the fact, that there might be this jealousy or this animosity between these two, and the rest is history. But he wound up dying mysteriously from a speedball of cocaine and morphine. Wow. Next one, Gary Coleman. The actor was best known as Arnold on the 80s sitcom Diff'rent Strokes. He was a child star but struggling financially as he grew older. Now, it was a shame what they did to this little boy, and ultimately, man. They pretty much sold him out early on since he was a baby. And at the beginning, he had like this liver disease or just something that, I forget what it was. I forget what I read, but it's something that had to do with he had bad kidneys, I think. I think it was kidneys, not liver. He was always on dialysis and stuff. And I believe Todd Bridges was saying on one of the interviews that I had seen that he would be in so much pain when they were actually filming but the producers of the show, because they had a time schedule, didn't care whether he was in pain or not, and they forced him to film his scenes, to stay on schedule, even though he was physically, in pain, and he was just all messed up. So in a lot of the Different Strokes episodes, he wasn't doing too hot. On top of that, they just, pretty much used him up, soaked him up, probably molested him. I don't know about him though, because the dialysis thing, but I don't know. I wasn't there, but according to Todd Bridges, there was a lot of molestation. He got molested by his agent, and I think that's where all the brood of vipers is at. It's in the agencies. That's how they screen who's down, who's not down, and whatever. And before he gets back to the nasty directors' couches and witchcraft and all that junk in the back there. Anyway, he just had it real bad, and the parents sold him out and then robbed his trust fund, and then he came up broke. He went from $8 million trust fund to $200,000 when he emerged about around 20, and then everything dried up for him after that. He couldn't get any acting roles anymore because he was already grown up, and it just wasn't working for him. And we all know what happened after that. He was always angry. People walking up to him trying to get him to, "What you talking about, Willie?" And he was just all pissed off, fighting people and what have you. And then I read up toward the end there that they pulled the plug in the Utah hospital that he wound up, at the end, right before he died, and they pulled the plug on him. They pulled the life support on him, I guess, to save whatever little assets he had left, so that they can, divvy him up. They didn't want the hospital to get his assets, because the hospital charges, So the supposed wife pulled the plug, and then he wound up passing away, which was really sad. Dana Plato. No, she was one of my favorites. I had such a crush on her. Look at her, she's so cute there. Dana Plato, another Different Strokes star. Plato worked only sporadically through her 20s and 30s. She struggled with poverty and substance abuse. It was a shame that this cute girl right here, she was so bubbly on stage or whatever, but, on the show, she was running around. But again, they must have caught her early, and heaven knows what was being done to her in the background. Because we're never shown that, in the public, because everything was, looks like it's all squeaky clean and, whatever. And this was happening in the 70s. But as we all know, she couldn't get an acting gig at all, because after Different Strokes, I think she wound up getting pregnant. And then they couldn't have that, so they, instead of just keeping her around, I guess it was a rocky relationship, her with the network, and they just cut her loose. Because she didn't even get, they didn't even write her off the show so she can later come back. I think she did do a couple of guest appearances, and she came back for a episode or two. But they weren't really trying to keep her around for whatever reason. Then she just got lost in the mix. She couldn't get rehired. They had typecast her, or whatever they call it, that winter typecast, which is a bunch of malarkey. They just basically don't want to deal with you. They just chew you up and spit you out. And then her ultimate demise was when they found her in her trailer home after robbing I think it happened about maybe a month or so after she robbed that liquor store in Las Vegas. It was just all bad for her. It was sad how she died. And then ultimately she died of an overdose, which is kind of suspicious, but, she was at rock bottom at that point. So, may you rest in peace, Dana Plato. I always felt bad about her, but it was a shame how she left out of here. Jonathan Brandis, he died in 2003 at age 27. Brandis was found alive but unconscious, hanging from the neck in his home. Through the friend who discovered him, called 911 immediately. Brandis died the next day. Now, this was the cat that came out on the Sequest. I'm not sure what his early works were, because, I didn't really research it, but I remember him coming out on the TV show Sequest. And again, and then we have him dying at the age 27, so that's the infamous 27 Club, how they all die at 27, that's been released lately. So why is he hanging himself? He's got look at him. He's a handsome-looking dude. Not that I'm into dudes, but he's a handsome-looking guy. He's got a gang of money, so to speak. He's got fame for days, yet he's hanging himself in his house. Why? What would cause him to do something like that? Only God knows. Only him, God, and the people that are responsible for putting him in that predicament know. And all I can say is it's a shame, because he was a baby. Now here's a real baby. Anisha Jones. Jones died in 1976 at age 18 due to a serious drug habit. Okay. Now this little girl right here was now we're going back into the 60s. She was a little girl on that TV show called Family Affair. It was the little girl on that show, the daughter. And my question to my audience is this: now why does she have a bad, serious drug habit? She's only 18 years old. I mean, you're still a baby. You're not even an adult yet. She was barely coming into being an adult, and she winds up dying of a serious drug habit. So what does that mean? I mean, did she just take it at 18 and she croaked over? No, a drug habit means that she had been doing drugs for a long time. So what, they're giving like 14, 15-year-olds or whatever drug? I mean, come on, man. What is that? I don't know. Maybe we should take on what Dave Chappelle, that the environment is sick. But why, what would possess this little girl to do drugs? I don't know. Maybe it's because they're molester. Maybe because she's being molested the whole time. And they use drugs as an escape. Because they can't deal with, they use drugs and alcohol as an escape because they can't deal with the reality of what they've done. They're selling out Jesus and they sell out their soul. And, you know, they signed up for fame and fortune only to find out they have, everything is controlled and they're just micromanaged like, you know, property, like pieces of property. And they sold themselves for a season. I don't know, but she winds up dying at 18, which is that was sad too. Corey Haim. And we all know about what happened to Corey Haim. In 2010, at age 38, he died of the official cause of pneumonia. But he had taken a number of pills prior to his death as well. Well, there's a lot of stuff that surfaced over this poor guy, and look how handsome he is. I mean, look at that face, but he's extremely sad in this picture. You know, he's extremely sad. And he had a really bad drug problem. So they're saying he died of pneumonia, but I think it was a drug overdose, honestly. And it was because he was being passed around in Hollywood and all the pedophilia parties, all that stuff. He was being passed around, and you know, he confronted Corey Feldman in that reality show that came out in the 2000s. I forget what year, but he was saying, man, you know what was going on? How come you didn't stop it? Well, you know what was going on. And they were going back and forth about what was going on. Corey Feldman spilled the beans that they were surrounded by them in Hollywood, and that's the biggest problem even today. And ultimately, this poor vato couldn't hang, and he just couldn't take it no more. And then the acting roles dried up. So you're basically at the end of your rope because that's all you're doing to earn your keep, and that's what's your livelihood. And now you can't do either. So you just get, sucked into the negative spiral of drugs and alcohol, and ultimately this is the end result. Christopher Petit is the little dude from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. This is one of the younger brothers of Christina Applegate. He died in 2000 at age 24 of an accidental drug overdose. After Petit's death, his acting coach started a scholarship in his name to help young actors attend acting school Petit had attended. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but how come you just didn't save his life? And how come you didn't try? Because that's not what they wanted. It's because they're coming in on these young children And the scholarship is to get more people to come in so that they can keep up their evil doings, their wrongdoings toward these children. And it's a sad thing. And again, another drug overdose. Now, why a drug overdose? Well, I'm going to give my main commentary at the end of this, at the end of the video. But we kind of know where that's going. May you rest in peace. Rusty Hamer. Hamer later moved to Louisiana and worked on an oil rig. He shot himself in the head in 1998 at age 42. Now, Rusty Hamer, I believe, was the son in the Make Room for Daddy and then ultimately the Danny Thomas Show. There was the son. And now, for some reason, I guess, now that he's older, but he made it out to be 42, so he still had a life after show business. Then he winds up shooting himself in the head for whatever reason in 1990. I'm not sure what that was about. I didn't really research it, so I'm not going to get into it, but it's a shame that, again, a suicide, for some odd reason. And who knows what was going on with him at the time. I mean, I could look it up and then get back to you on this one, but it's a shame that he wound up taking his own life, which is, I'm almost positive that it's kind of tied into the movie industry somewhere. But anyway, Scotty Beckett. Beckett died in 1968 at age 38 from an overdose of barbiturates. He is pictured here with his co-star Spanky, which they cut the picture out, so Spanky's not in the thing. But just with that little statement at the end, I guess this is one of the Little Rascals from back in the 30s when they did their Little Rascal shorts. Again, an overdose of barbiturates. So they come out of the industry all rotten. And, all rotten and, not rotten, but they come out all abused already because they can't handle what's going on. So heaven knows, I didn't research this, honestly. But I'm thinking that, just like Chappelle said, again, I'll quote again, that the environment is sick. So apparently something's going on that they feel that they have to do, drugs and stuff. Okay. Now this little boy right here is still with us. This is Peter Ostrom, Charlie Bucket from the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So they got him in, he was the next rising star. He got in there, he jumped around, I got a golden ticket. Hey Charlie, hey Peter, you can be a big star, whoop-de-woo, and we're going to give you a 3-picture deal. He said, nah, I'm cool. I'm going to hit it and I'm going to quit it. I'm going to keep it pushing. And he kept it pushing. And now he's Dr. Peter Ostrom. He's up in, if I recall, he's up in, he's in East Coast. I think he's up in Maine or he's up there somewhere in the East Coast as a veterinarian. He already had direction and his parents most likely said, you know what, Peter, don't continue. We'll leave it up to you. Or maybe his parents guided him and told him, hey man, don't get in there. Or maybe he saw some stuff that he wasn't really feeling because he hit it and he quit it. I think I read he tried to go back later, but they wouldn't receive him because he was already past his. He wasn't going to serve their purposes because he was already an adult, and they can now not prey on him like they could when he was a kid, when he was a child. They can do things to you as a child because you're scared and you're unaware and you don't have the protection of your parents. So now you're an adult. That's way different. They can't mess with you as easily. But this is one of the child actors that hit it and quit it, and now he's still alive and there's he's leading a normal life. And he's still with us. So thank God, that he was smart enough and he listened to his parents or whatever the case may be, and he just hit it and quit it and got out of there. He had a one-hit wonder, but that's all right because he's still famous for that role. I'm sure that people walk up to him all the time and tell him how much they love him. If I saw him, I would say, hey, man, hey, Peter, how you doing, man? I like you in the Chocolate Factory because, I grew up watching that stuff, But he's alive, and he's doing well, and thank God for that. That's a good thing. Now, we got this vato, Old crusty, old crusty Bill Cosby. And right here, he looking real sad. He looking real sad because they got this out there right here, man. They cornered him, and they got him doing a lot of cochinadas, just like I be saying in my other videos. They nabbed him, and he was getting his britches was getting too big. He was like high on his high horse, looking down at other African Americans, talking smack about this, that, and the other, trying to buy NBC, talking, to giving lip toward Trump. But what really did it is he's a black dude, and they're not gonna let, because the racism thing is always gonna be there. They're not gonna let him come up and just stay up. They're gonna give you stuff, string you along, let you make a truckload of cash for them, and at the end of your career, once you're all old and crusty and you're not usable no more, they're gonna destroy you and steal all the money back, which is exactly what they're doing to Bill Cosby. And they know they can do that because why? Because like Cat Williams said, that you had to pay the entrance fee to get in the club that you swear is bumping, and it's you. Once you get in, it's you and 11 people. They get you with blackmail as you're going into the club. And they're going to later use that blackmail to bust you out at the end of your career, if you make it that far. If they don't get you to off yourself as a child or somewhere along the line in the 20s and 30s and you wind up dying, whatever, you do it for them. But if you make it out to be old and crusty like this vato, then they're going to have to off you and steal your money, steal your assets back. Because that's what they're doing. They're stripping Bill Cosby of all the assets. And they knew they were going to do it. And that's what they're doing to all the new up-and-coming stars. And, I saw another video where we got to pray for him. Well, yeah, we can pray for him because God, what's impossible for us is possible for God. But if he's been blaspheming God and he's been, he agreed to destroy, he's in the industry, and I don't recall him ever blaspheming God, but at some point he must have, because you can't be around them people without blasphemies toward Lord Jesus Christ. And that is one sin that's unpardonable. So I don't know. But I feel sorry for this vato here. Because they looking to cave him in, and they're looking to cave him in bad. And we all see it happening right in front of our eyes. So that just goes to show you that, okay, yeah, Satan comes with trying to sell your soul. Yeah, sell your soul, and you get the women and the money. And like Cosby, they sent a bunch of white women to him knowing that they were going to use that to destroy him later down the line. So my question is this, okay? I'm poor right now, and I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to keep it real. I'm poor. I'm beyond poor. I'm like, I'm too poor. I'm super poor. Whatever. Doesn't matter. But I can sleep at night. I'm poor, but I don't have two nickels to rub together. And I'm dealing with some stuff that is kind of not nice. But I'm okay with it because at least I can sleep at night. Having money and stuff is okay. And I can come up if I want. I have the knowledge and I have the talent and the ability to come up because they were seeking a contract out of me, but luckily I didn't. I've never really been into the contracts because I didn't understand. Now that I'm reading law and I'm studying the law, I understand a lot of stuff more clearly. But what I'm getting at is this. I'm poor, but I'm able to sleep. They may be rich and come up, but they're not able to sleep because their soul is no longer theirs. And at some point, the devil's going to come and collect it. Why are all these young children dying of drug overdoses? What possesses them to do those things? They have to stay high because of what they did. of what they agreed to going go join that club. Because, I mean, I find it strange that it's always the same story. They made the money. They couldn't handle the fame. The fame was too much for them. Blah, 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 blah. They wind up dying of an overdose. Like, really? You're just going to die of an overdose because you can't handle the fame? We heard Dave Chappelle say that it was the fame that got him. He couldn't handle the fame. No, he likes the fame. He liked acting in front of people. It wasn't the fame; it was the circumstances attached to the money that he couldn't handle. Because, see, like I said in previous videos, the talent is solely yours. You have control over who's going to utilize that talent or not. But when they make a deal with you, they take something that's totally yours, they take it from you, and then they give you what we know to be as money. But they control the banks. You can't just go in there and get a bunch of cash out, because it's going to trigger a bunch of stuff, especially IRS. And that's who they use to control you and ultimately cave you in. How do you think they're caving in Bill Cosby? It's through the IRS. They're going to ultimately sick their attack dogs, called IRS, with guns drawn on you to seize all the assets if you don't set everything up right from the beginning, and they've hidden all that from us. Ultimately, it turns out that the Bible is real, which is they don't want you to read that law book, because the Bible is it's the first law book, and it's the only law book, and everything else stems from that. They of course are telling you that it's wrong, it's real, it's been changed, blah blah blah. Yet they follow it to the letter. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. All I'm saying is this: I'm poor now, but I get to sleep well. I don't have much, but I'm happy with what I have. I'm not even tripping. You know, God is providing, and I'm cool with that. You know, but at least I get to sleep. Now, there's people with cars and houses and all, but it don't belong to them, and all they're going to wind up doing is recycling it, because they're going to destroy your life like Cosby. Because Cosby, it turns out that they had some sealed records about all those rape allegations back in the day, and now they got evidence that he killed his son. That he ordered, you know, his son to be killed for all that blood sacrifice stuff. And, you know, you got to sacrifice. So you got blood on your hands. You can't be in that mix without blood on your hands. So I don't see how Jesus is going to, I don't know. I'm not Jesus, so I don't know. But that's a hard one for me, that if you got blood on your hands, that you sold your family member for money. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if he can be saved. Now, Jesus accepts everybody if you repent, but that remains to be seen, because I'm not Jesus. So that's something that has to, you know, occur between that person and Jesus Christ himself, which is the real judge. Anyway, this is going to do it for this episode, and it's a shame that all them child actors had to die, you know, of drug overdoses, you know. And the one that didn't accept is still with us, and he's doing okay. So, you know, you might want to take some pointers from that. You know, he didn't get involved, and because he didn't ever sign a contract to sell his soul over, he still remains with us, you know, doing okay, just as a normal Joe. So you might want to consider that. Anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, and I'm going to go ahead and catch up with you guys next time.